So, as with the previous seasons of Reconfiguring Reality, we decided to throw in a fluff piece. So, this week we're going to be talking about whether or not pets are actually considered family members. I'm Laura.
I'm the Jericho.
And I'm Krista.
Welcome back to Reconfiguring Reality. I haven't done any research on this because I don't really think there is any way to do research on this because it's a matter of opinion, you know?
And I think it'll be more fun to talk about how unhinged people get on social media on like Mother's Day and Father's Day when people are like, "Oh, happy Mother's Day to me and my fur baby." And people get really mad about it.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand why people. Okay. Well, first of all, Krista, do you think animals are part of your family?
Absolutely.
Jericho, you?
So it's a tough call. And here's why I say this. So this goes a little bit off topic, but just bear with me, okay?
Okay, let's hear it.
I am a different duck, as you know very well. I compartmentalize a lot of things. And as such, my relationships with people tend to be the same way. For example, I had a friend of mine recently ask, "Hey, these are my two friends. I want them to become part of this inner circle of friendship that we all share." And I was like, okay, well, that's fine, but I can't guarantee that's going to happen. And he was kind of like, well, can you give him a chance and blah, blah, blah. And he was trying to like basically more or less fight for their option to be included in the group. And I kept trying to explain to him, and by extension, so did my best friend, like, we're not telling you no. We're not saying we don't like them or they don't make the grade. What I'm trying to tell you, and what he is also trying to tell you, is I don't work that way. I don't have a simple yes and no philosophy. I'm just going to be like, oh, yeah, you get a green card and you get a red card. This isn't like Love Actually or The Bachelor, right? I don't hand out roses about things, and that's not how I work with people. I don't give them chances. It's either people become my friends or they don't, and it's you would assume it's largely under my control, but the way I quantify people and their behaviors and trust levels and things like that, it's about repetition, it's about understanding who they are. And at the end of the day, it really isn't about whether I like them or not. It's they either reach a certain level of trust and thereby reach a certain level of friendship with me or they don't. And they're the ones who dictate it, not me. There's certain people I can trust with something that I can't with others. And I had the same pain point with my wife before, where if someone asked me, like, will you trust your wife? And I go, no. Because what they're talking about is empirical, like just, I trust her to the ends of the earth with every living thing in the world. No, I don't, because that's stupid. There's certain things she's good at and certain things she isn't. If I had to rely on her to carry me across a desert on her back, we're both dead. She physically does not have the capabilities to perform this task. So that's just stupid. That's physics, right? So no, I don't trust her to do everything under the sun. I trust her in many a thing, but not everything, and it's foolhardy to think so. So when I look at animals and how this relates to families, I look at it in the same way. I think on the best case scenario, when you have food, when you have water, when you have a stable household, when you have the luxury to be able to afford a dog or a cat or whatever, yes, you can accept them as a family member and grow very attached to them. I've had people tell me before, I'd sooner starve myself than let my dog starve. Very few people can actually back that claim up. And more so, if they're part of your family and you say, well, I could never choose if I had to pick one of my kids to survive. Okay, well, now you have one of your kids and your dog, and all of them have a gun to their head. Who are you choosing to survive? Quickly, your fur baby, who's part of the family, gets axed out of that equation. So really, they're not part of the family. It's a nice thing to say. You like having them around. They're one of your more precious belongings, but they're really not part of your family. Now, to some people, that may be the case. They may be willing to sacrifice family members or whatnot for their dog. I'm not saying the possibility doesn't exist. I'm just saying for most people, the fantasy is much larger than the reality. So I would say, arguably, the greater populace do not consider dogs or pets in general to be family members. I would consider them to be pets. Just they could be loved, they could be cherished, they could be valued, they could be very special, but kind of like your first love or an old friend in college that you never talk to anymore and really have no interest or made no effort in the last 20 years to go see. They were in your life for a time and they're not there any longer. They pass like the seasons.
Hmm. I kind of agree but disagree. Like, um, Susie Q was part of my family while I was there, but obviously she's with my daughter now, so she's part of that family. Which they're still family, but she's just not my dependent, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I would protect her like I would protect my child.
Well, I think you also bring up a great point. Dependency, right? People
Mm-hmm.
quantify family differently. And I think the term family means something very different to different people. Like to me, I don't hold fealty towards blood. Like
Right,
if you took my best friend, who I consider to be like a brother, and you put him against my aunts or my uncles or my cousins or whatever, you could just shove all of them, and it's the train car problem for me, and they lose that battle. It's like, well, all of your aunts and are just going to get whacked if, or it's your best friend. Who are you choosing? And I'm like, well, I guess I don't have any or more aunts. Like,
right, and of course, I view my family very different.
oh yeah. And see, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not mad at you for it. Just the value we put in the people, right? Like I hold a lot of respect for your mother for that reason.
Why so?
Again, a little bit of a tangent, my apologies. But when I
Good
was
thing I know
first
the editor.
talking to your mother, Sophie, um one of the first things she told me was, look, I don't need to know who you are, and I don't need to like you, but if you hurt my daughter, I'll kill you. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
great. I said that we understand each other perfectly. I have the same philosophy. I said, I don't need to like you. I don't want to need to know you either. I'm like, but you upset my wife, I'm gonna tell you where to shove it in a hurry because I don't care about you either. Like, you may be her mother, but you mean nothing to me. And this has been my philosophy with this woman since the beginning. Like when we first were going to visit one another, and Lorelai was flying down to see me, she was like, "I want to know your address because you could be a killer. I want your phone number. I want your name, your birth certificate, your favorite ice cream, all this nonsense she wanted to know about me." I said, "Sure, I am 100% more than happy to give you all the most detailed information about my life as soon as you give me yours." And she's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." And she didn't ask for it anymore. Now, I really didn't want that information from her. But for me, it was a test. I was like, how far are you willing to go to protect your daughter? And if that was it, if your uncomfortability was enough to ward you off, then I'm glad I'm protecting your daughter because I'm willing to go the distance. But that also stated from me to her in a very direct way, like, look, going forward, if whatever future your daughter and I have, understand that I don't play these games. Like, if you want to talk to me, you're going to talk to me, but we're equals. I'm not going to be crawling. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not going to be sitting over here, yes, mamming, and all this kind of nonsense. Like in your house, under your rules, I will respect you. as an individual, as a fellow adult. But that's as far as that goes. As far as her and I relationship goes, as far as what we do as two consenting adults, that has nothing to do with you. It's none of your
Curious to
business.
see how you're going to be living with an animal.
But just like a pet,
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen animals around me. They love me. I don't even
Yeah.
like them most of the time, but they love me. It's just, it's kind of whatever. Now, I will say this. When it comes to living with an animal, to me, most of the time I have no problem living with animals. The only time I have a problem with it is if someone makes it my problem. In other words, like let's say you have a cat. I've lived with cats, but the biggest problem I have with cats is they smell. Now they themselves
Yes.
usually don't stink all that much, but their litter box does. And if it's a male cat, they tend to mark more than female cats do. And again, it's not the worst thing in the world. But if you're not a very cleanly person to begin with, then you tend not to be a cleanly cat owner. You're not keeping up after them. So if you are in the house with me and you have that kind of mentality and you're not taking care of it, you and I are going to have a serious problem very quickly because I'm not going to have you screwing up my house, roommate or otherwise, because you want to be a filthy pig. That is not going to fly. And I won't get into arguments about it. I won't have a back and forth about it. I will literally like snap the top off of a can of like Airwick and just grenade your fucking room if you don't get the hint. Like I don't care. Like we're just not going to play that game. So you can either get with the program or get out. That's really how that'll go. But as far as like being around animals and whatnot, like I like animals, but I also know the extreme amount of care that is required and the potential cost and just the amount of attention an animal requires to be happy and mentally healthy and well adjusted, which is why I don't own animals. It's a lot of time and effort that I have to sink into one. And although there is benefits to owning an animal, I already raised a kid for 18 years. I'm not looking to raise more. So
Right.
I don't want the time investment. And quite frankly, I'm married to you. I spend a lot of time with your needs and care. And though I'm happy to do so, why do I want another thing that I have to pay money into and take care of, right? Like that to me is just another cost of my time and effort that I could spend on you. So I don't see why I'd want to divide that attention. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. I am your pet. Got it.
I mean, you know, in a non-assholish way, yes, yes, you are.
Jericho has a shirt that says emotional support husband, please do not feed.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing on my side.
And sometimes she does get mad at me because I'm like, come on, squirrel, let's go to church. She's like, why are you talking to me like I'm a dog? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm motivating you. And sometimes she doesn't get mad. Like sometimes she'll be like, all right, let's go, and she's all excited, right? Like so, like
And I think when you're talking about like pets and stuff, like you were saying, like having an issue with the people, I think 9 times out of 10, issues people have with animals aren't really with animals, it's with their people.
Hmm.
Animals just doing, well, I mean, like a dog's gonna dog, a dog's gonna bark. They're gonna, like, my dog is an idiot and she poops and pees in the house after she's been outside for an hour. It is what it is. She's doing her thing. She's a dog. Yes, she's a part of my family. She's very important to me. She's like another child. But at the end of the day, she is a dog. And I'm well aware of that. The problem then becomes like I become the problem if I'm not cleaning up after her, if I'm not correcting her when she's barking for no reason. Like the wind blew 3 towns over and the dog is barking. So, like it becomes my job then to train her and teach her, and just like it's my job as a parent to teach my kids how to act like people, it's my job to teach my dog how to act like a well behaved dog. And I think, every once in a while, you do get that animal that's just like unhinged and can't be taught. But most of the time, the problem is that the people aren't putting in the time to do what they need to do for their animals. And that's why animals act all crazy.
I agree with you 110%. My best buddy, and I love him to death. he got himself a Weimaraner. And for those people who don't know what that is, it's kind of like a Labrador, except they're very, very energetic. They're like if you took one and bred it with like a greyhound. And he decided the best way to care for this dog was to treat it like it was just an overgrown lap dog and keep it locked in a cage every day when he went to work for like 14 hours. So this dog went insane. And he was like, he eventually had to give it away because it just kept ripping through cages and tearing up the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I
those
wish
are,
I could have a pit bull. Most renters insurances won't cover pit bulls. Even though it's not the pit bull that's the problem, it's the people.
yes,
Yeah, see, there you go.
pit bulls are not inherently violent like people try to stereotype them.
No, every pit bull I've ever known has been the biggest derpy potato I've ever met.
The thing is, it's like they have naturally gifted things that make them good at fighting and guard dogs and stuff. So when people make them aggressive, they're good at their job. But it's like German Shepherds. German Shepherds aren't naturally aggressive and violent, but when you train them to be so, they're
Hmm.
good at their job. Like it is what it is. It's the same thing with like Scottish Terriers. Like they're tiny little dogs, but they're hunting dogs. They were originally bred to go hunt small things.
Christo, before you were
Yeah.
a pet owner, did you feel the same way?
Well, you have to remember, we grew up with animals.
Hmm.
I've always had a cat my
See,
entire life.
I didn't feel like Misty was part of the family though. Misty was just the pain in
Well,
the ass, the cat chasing us up the
you were kind
steps.
of younger too. Like you didn't really bond with Misty as much as you did the rest of the cats.
I don't recall feeling that way about Stevie either.
Yeah, but we found Stevie and nursed her back to life.
Right.
So like she definitely there was like a different kind of feeling there for me. But I've always felt like animals are part of the family. But I'm also incredibly empathic and a softie, and like you could have a pet rock and I would say yeah, it's part of the family. So
See,
some of that is just my personality. I get attached really easily.
but I get attached to people really easily. It's like, but with animals, sure, I love them, but I guess they're like kids to me. I love them, but I can give them back. I hate
Yeah,
other people's
see,
kids.
I like with Venus, like she has seen me through so much over the last 7 years that
Hmm.
I couldn't imagine her not being around. Like losing her would be like losing one of my kids.
Right.
Um, so and I think that's where like the significance, like people like roll their eyes about emotional support animals and all of that, but they really do make a difference. When I was laid up last summer for 6 weeks, that dog never left my side.
Let's
She was
talk
in
about
that bed with
emotional
me the whole
animals.
time. Hmm?
What do they need to be certified as an emotional support animal?
A letter from a therapist.
Okay, but what does the therapist like? What kind of guidelines do you put in place to say yes or no? This animal is a
So I
emotional
don't
support animal.
officially write the letters. It's one of the
Hmm.
things we don't do at Wesley, but um just pretty much just giving like the justification for why you feel this animal is an emotional support animal. What is it that this animal does to help relieve the anxiety, relieve the depression? Like for someone who is severely depressed and they can't even like manage their own like basic needs, but know that they have this animal relying on them and they need to keep the animal alive. For some people, like keeping an animal alive is more important to them than keeping themselves alive. And so, well, while I'm up feeding the dog, I might as well make myself a piece of toast. So they can be instrumental in people just functioning.
And of course,
Um,
then there's service dogs too. Of
yeah, well,
course,
service
service
dogs are
dogs are
different.
trained to pick
To,
out medical.
yeah, they're trained to detect different illnesses and like body changes, and like even if it's PTSD, they're trained to know like yeah, there's a lot of training that goes into having them be a service animal. But emotional support animal really is just saying like this dog helps this person function on the day to day. It gives them a reason to get up out of bed every day. It gives them a connection to some other living being. Well, and it's like, you remember in the movie 28 Days, they tell them like when they're
The
leaving, like
horse.
start small, get a pet
Oh,
or get a
well, I
plant.
thought you meant the horse. Okay, sorry. Yes, get
No,
a
no,
plant.
no, 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 no. Get a
And
plant,
then in a year, if that's alive, get a
get a
pet.
pet. Yeah. But it's that whole idea of being able to commit to something. And for someone who struggles with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, you know, having something they can commit to and be a focus outside of their own head. So, because I mean, I've had times where my depression's so bad that I can't get out of my own brain. And knowing I have to get up and let the dog out gives me a sense of purpose for those 5 minutes or whatever. So really that's just like what goes in the letter is like this individual, you know, has like this, this animal that's dependent on them, and that's what helps them maintain their mental health. Like
I
I have a client on my caseload who I saw in her notes. She went to her med eval and she was having a really, really hard day. Lots of anxiety, really scared to leave the house. She brought her dog to her med eval and they let her bring the dog in because we're a mental health facility. So of course, like if that's going to help you come to your appointment and address your needs, absolutely bring your dog in. Um, and the dog's really well behaved. So, sometimes clients do. They bring their pets to their therapy sessions. They bring their pets to their med evals because that's what helped them get out the door.
I will say that, I'm all for like having an emotional support animal or a person or something like that, right? But I think some people get a little wild with it.
Oh, I agree.
Like they're like, this is my emotional support ostrich. I'm like, okay, calm down.
Yeah. No,
Like,
I agree. I agree. And I'll be honest, I actually looked into getting Venus registered or whatever as an emotional support animal so that it would open up the availability of other places to rent for me. Because if you have the letter stating that your animal is an emotional support animal, by law, a landlord has to allow you to have your pet, whether or not they were willing to have animals in the house. I lucked out. I found a house that I was able to have my pet. I paid $25 a month extra for her to be here. And that's just to cover anything she may damage over the time that we live here.
right.
Um,
A lot of
so,
places do that.
and hmm?
A lot of places do that.
Yeah, and I'm willing to pay well, I had the option of I could pay like a $500 deposit or $25 a month. Well, I didn't have the full 500 for a deposit, so I just pay the 25 a month. So it for me was financially easier that way. Um and yeah, they're gonna have to be like they're gonna have to scrub. I scrub the carpets regularly, but they're going to have like someone come in and deep clean when we leave because my dog is very smart but is stupid. And she has her certain spots where she likes to pee, and no matter what I've done, she still does. So I scrub the carpet a lot. But like I had thought about making her an official emotional support animal. And I
How
know
long does that normally take?
um if you go through like one of those online, like you pay the fee and whatever, I think it takes like a month for them to get the letter back to you. If you go to your doctor or your therapist, however long it takes the doctor or therapist to do it. But I think there are like steps you have to take. Again, like I said, I don't know the process. Um, I just know that therapists and PCPs can write the letters.
What were you
Your
saying about our nephew?
our nibbling, what has been looking into that for their cats.
Both of them.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, okay, well, because they have Axel and Little T, and that way
I'm
they'd be
surprised
able to
Patience hasn't
go.
done it for Suzy Q yet.
Well, she hasn't had an issue with being able to take the dog into housing. People are more like it's crazy to me because landlords are more willing to take dogs than they are to allow cats. And a lot of it is because like Jericho said, they spray, they stink, they, the house smells like cat, and I
Yeah.
will say I'm very proud of my child because he keeps up with his cats. And so my house does not smell like cat. But cats tend to be a little more destructive than dogs, which has always surprised me.
Oh, they're way more destructive, yeah. Because they're hunters. They hunt differently, right? Dogs use
Hmm.
their mouth for everything. They really don't use their claws unless it's digging. That's where you
Right.
see their destruction coming more often than not, is that unless they're tearing something up like shoes or a couch, they're usually just digging, right? They'll dig the carpet, they'll dig whatever. But cats, they're always scratching to keep their claws from getting too long, so they're just constantly clawing at stuff.
Hmm.
So if you don't get them something to engage with, they're going to claw your furniture, their drapes, your whatever you have.
Your screens and then jump out and sit on the windowsill outside.
Yep, the walls, paint. I mean, they're not being destructive to be a jerk. It's just what cats do.
It's their nature. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
why like I never really get like angry or upset. It just gets frustrating.
it's like owning ferrets. Ferrets will constantly steal things.
Hmm.
It's like if you don't want a ferret that's running around in the middle of the night, don't own a ferret.
Right. And I think too, one of my biggest surprises when it comes to different kinds of pets, I have a snake. She's a ball python. She will come to the edge of, like, to the glass of her tank and look at me and stick that little tongue out, like, hey, mom, come here, and want me to take her out of the tank and snuggle with her. Snakes are cuddly.
They do like warmth.
That's yeah. I was just gonna say.
I mean, and her tank is plenty warm and is like has the right humidity, but sometimes she wants people warm instead of heat lamp warm. And like it just like but she does like and she'll wrap herself around my arm and she'll sit there and she'll watch TV with me. Like snakes have like these amazing personalities and I never knew that about snakes. I just thought they were cool. But she is an absolute sweetheart. She's the sweetest little thing. Except for one day she did try to bite me, but that was my fault. So that was my big surprise. Snakes are cuddly and they like to snuggle and watch TV.
Why do people get all up in arms? That dog's not your family. Why? Why? I don't understand.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from parents of human children who feel like someone's trying to quote unquote take their day away from them. But like to me that doesn't make sense. Like I don't know, like why are you letting somebody else spoil your day? Just
Oh.
enjoy your human children and keep it moving.
Are you ready for the hot take answer?
Hmm.
Yeah.
The same reason people get mad about fur babies versus like non-fur babies, right? Is the same reason why people get mad over gay marriage and why people get mad over homosexuality or Pokemon or furries or any other thing that's different than the norm. And it has to do with a preference and where people put their societal weight and measures at. Like if I step on your brand new shoes, you get mad because you hold value in that product. To some people, it's just a pair of shoes. To other people, that's $200 I've essentially ruined. Right? To
Hmm.
some people, it's their respect and their honor. To some people, it's their street cred. There's how we put our eggs in a basket and how people treat that basket determines our reaction. And that's really what it comes down to. Is if something people find it ludicrous or appalling, they're going to buck against it. It doesn't matter if it's logical to the person who likes the animal because it's illogical to the person who doesn't.
And what about our listeners? Do you consider your animals part of your family, or are they just there? I don't know what else you'd consider them, honestly. But I think that is going to be it for today's podcast. I'm
Yep.
not sure what else we can touch base on here.
Yeah.
So
Join us
don't
next time
forget.
for our follow-up podcast. Are kids really family, or are they pets too?
Depends on the kid. Totally depends on the kid.
Thank you all for being here with us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, chat, share, all the fun stuff, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.